effort or separately outside the school?
No, sir, part of this campus itself. So ours is a boarding cum day boarding school.
Excellent, excellent. Wonderful. So, like I said, we are now live on YouTube and we will be starting in another 1 minute. And good afternoon, good evening to all the participants on the show today. We have Mr. Vivek Atray, ex-IAS officer, TEDx speaker, and I'll be introducing him formally in another minute or so. So the format will be 30 minutes of discussion by Vivek and me, and we will then get Neeraj into a panel discussion. When Vivek is speaking, I'll request all the panelists to also please mute themselves and keep their videos on stop. So Vivek, another 30 seconds. Are you ready to go?
Absolutely ready.
Fantastic. Lovely. So Vivek, if you allow me, can we start?
Sure.
So good evening, good afternoon, participants. Neeraj, Vivek, welcome to Ideas That Matter, series of webinars by Shulini University, Kasole Hills, Himachal Pradesh. My name is Atul Khosla. I am the founder and Pro-Vice Chancellor of Shulini University. And it's my pleasure, and I'm excited to invite all of you to Ideas That Matter. Quickly on Ideas That Matter, we started very small, Vivek and I, with a small idea. And the small idea was to create a platform of sharing ideas and hopefully in the process inspire all of us and in the process inspire our students. We are delighted to say that this is Vivek, the 79th episode, I'm told. We have covered more than 150 institutions across the country as far as Calcutta and Gujarat. We have touched more than 100,000 teachers and many, many more students and parents. So it's an honor to be with your lovely school out of Pathankot today. And of course, thank you, Neeraj, for making this happen. Neeraj is a very dynamic educationist, and it is my honor to have Neeraj as my fellow panelist here today. So a quick introduction to Vivek Atray. Vivek is an ex-IAS officer, and many of you who've been to Chandigarh would have seen the IT Park of Chandigarh. Vivek is the brain behind the IT Park, and it is such a pleasure to know that Vivek is a dear friend and also a fellow professor at Shulini University. He's an ex-IAS officer, TEDx speaker, motivational speaker, and he's written many books. His last was a book by the name Finding Success Within, and that's the topic for the day. So who could be better than on this topic than Vivek Atray? My quick background, I am Atul Khosla, BTech from IIT Kanpur, an MBA, and then spent many, many years in the industry, working for many multinationals. And then the teaching bug hit me, and I love to be a teacher and love to be part of all of you today, and would love to answer all the different questions that you have about finding success within or any other topic that you have. The format for the day would be 30 minutes with Vivek, and then we'll do a Q&A, a question and answer. So the small buttons at the bottom, do put in your comments on chat or do a Q&A, and I'll be delighted, and Vivek will be delighted to answer those along with Neeraj, and he'll be part of the panel as we go on. So before we start, I'm going to request Neeraj to come in, introduce the school to us, and we will then get Vivek Atray into this very exciting and inspirational talk. Neeraj, over to you.
Thank you very much, Atul sir. So at the outset, I extend my gratitude to Shulini University for inviting us on this platform, and wonderful gentleman, of course, Atul sir, founder and Pro-Vice Chancellor Shulini University. It is indeed a pleasure to have Vivek Atray sir with us, in itself an ex-IAS officer and TEDx speaker. Precisely, you already introduced about me. I'm Neeraj Mohan Puri, born to Mrs. Usha and Mr. Ramesh Chandra Puri on 15th of October. So the institution which I'm leading is one of the premier and elite school at Pathankot, which is in Punjab. So we started this institution way back 1997. So currently we are having K-12 school that is CBSE affiliated, And proudly, we are the one who has even got the permission to start with Atul ATL Lab 2. And besides, in our ventures, we have journalism club we are offering in the campus. It's spread in 8 acres, around 1,000 students we are having with us, and we are running 6 boarding houses. Actually, they are 7, but as of now, 6 are operational. And they are after the name of Indian Nobel laureates like Amartya Sen ji, V. Ramakrishnan. So fortunately, there were 7 when I took over in 2008 as a principal. So we renamed them after the names of Indian Nobel laureates. So at that
So
time, there were
I'm going to make
7.
a cheeky remark here. We want your school to grow. For that, I think Shulini will have to produce a couple of Nobel Prize winners, Vivek. Neeraj, over to you. Sorry.
So students like in Sandeepni, they are from far across length and breadth of the nation. We do have students from Assam, from NCR, from every nook and corner of Punjab, as well as from Himachal Pradesh, Haryana, even from Kerala too. I have around 31 students who are from overseas, from different part of the globe. And I proudly share and put on record that my alumni, they are IAS, Mr. Atul Bakshi. We have produced Indian Revenue Services Commissioner, Shikha Khosla. We have many doctors. And we have the students who are serving Indian Navy, Maninder Pal, in Indian Defense. We have produced 3 judges as of now, and that too my students, which I proudly really feel delighted to share. So that's precisely about modern Sandeepni School. So I am passionate learner. By my alma mater, if it is concerned, I have done my 4 masters, MCom, MA in economics, MBA in finance, MPhil in management, and currently I'm pursuing PhD in management. That's it from my side.
Fantastic, Neeraj. I always knew you had a spark in your eye. You can make that out when you speak to people. And so lovely to see you doing such amazing work with the school. So we won't take more time, but we're going to request Vivek to come on screen. And Vivek, over to you. You are muted, Vivek.
Thank you very much, Atul, and thank you very much, Neeraj. It is a pleasure to be speaking at Ideas That Matter. And it is great to be speaking to your school, Neeraj, and your teachers, your colleagues. And Atul Khosla and I, as he said, have been doing these webinars for the last 3 or 4 months. 79th, this one is. And it's absolutely a pleasure to reach out to all the teachers with all the energy that we have. And you have selected a wonderful topic, finding success within. As Atul said, I'm also visiting professor at Sholini University and very happy to be. And it is a great association with your school that is in the offing. In fact, I must mention that even Sholini has the busts and statuettes of all the Indian Nobel laureates on the campus. And recently, these were installed. Even Dr. Hargobind Khurana's bust was installed recently, and Dr. Chandrasekhar and Dr. C.V. Raman also. So we had ceremonies at that time. Wonderful, Neeraj. So we will basically talk about success, and I would like to mention right at the outset that a journey of life is normally a journey towards, hopefully towards success, but ultimately success comes from true happiness, and true happiness is to be found within. There is nothing in the world which will give us permanent happiness unless we win the journey within. However many accolades, however many degrees, however many promotions, however many acquisitions we can garner or gather in our life, we will always be found wanting. I often quote the example that if there is somebody who loves mangoes, how many mangoes can he eat? So if somebody loves the mango season is on, you love mangoes, you have 6 mangoes, you are probably by then so satiated that you cannot have another one. After 6 mangoes, if somebody offers you a mango, you'll say, no, please, that's it. If you love chocolates, ice cream, pani puri, papi chaat, chole bhature, whatever you love, after some point, you cannot have more. Similarly, human beings also tire of other human beings, unfortunately. Relationships also get a little tired by the time years pass, and only true love can sustain relationships beyond that point. So the spark which is there is often short-lived, because when we are looking for attachments, when we are looking for satisfaction and happiness from other sources, from external stimuli, then we are going to be found wanting. So ultimately, it is our attitude from within which matters. Ultimately, success and happiness are to be found in our own attitude. And that attitude comes from being determined to be happy, to make others happy, to spend time with the family and friends. There are many from Punjab, especially, who go abroad. Gujarat, Punjab, and Bengal, and Kerala, perhaps, are the 4 states of India, all corners of India, which send most people abroad. Of course, nowadays the times are changing too much, but most people have gone from these 4 states. But going abroad and not being with the family, if the family cannot join you, and spending 30 years somewhere else, and then sending money back or coming once in 2 or 3 years, doesn't really mean the same thing. Nothing against people who have gone, but I personally feel that those youngsters who are looking to migrate and spend their whole life abroad can think whether they can come back in 2 years after doing a degree, imbibing the best of the Western world, and then using that to be a successful person in India. So what I mean to say is that ultimately we have to share our happiness and success with our loved ones. And those loved ones have to be with us only then. So I often say to a person who who's not able to balance his or her work and life, that is work and family life, or work and personal life, that you have to do that. That work-life balance will give you the edge over others. Because even if you work for 8 hours or 6 hours, compared to someone else who works for 12 hours, you will be able to achieve more in those 6 to 8 hours, because you have spent time judiciously with your friends, your family, your sports, your music, your art, your literature, your poetry, whatever else gives you joy. So work has to be tempered, balanced, and then only you can actually work better. So I often say that if you go back on a Monday morning to work, having spent your Sunday doing that which you love the most, it could be playing little games with the family, it could be going for a trek or photography, it could be writing poetry, it could be cooking, it could be music, it could be art. Anything that you love has to be part of it. And that comes from a creative mindset. Creativity is the elixir of success. And if you have that magic potion inside you, then you can make magic, because you have that creative instinct, the creative bent of mind. True success will come to such a person. I often give the example of Amitabh Bachchan. We know he's not well. Hopefully, he will recover very soon. What happened to Amitabh Bachchan when he was coming into a career? He was not successful. He was rejected by All India Radio. They said, "You don't have a nice voice." Amitabh Bachchan doesn't have a nice voice, they said. He was rejected by Hindustan Lever. You are not refined enough to be a marketing person for Hindustan Lever. And he was rejected by movie directors. He's too tall to be a hero. Lambu bahut hai. Now Amitabh Bachchan became the most successful superstar of Indian cinema, and he became the most humble of all superstars that I have seen. And when you watch him on Kaun Banega Crorepati, you've been watching him on KBC, you find how humble he is. So a man like Amitabh Bachchan exemplifies the values that you need to be successful. And why? Because he went through all the hardships, found the inner peace. You can see that inner peace with him on the sets of KBC. Maybe in the movie roles, we can't make out the true Amitabh Bachchan. But on KBC, he is himself. He makes the other person feel that that person is great, is an icon, is successful, is superstar. And whereas Amitabh Bachchan, he withdraws into his little shell, if possible, in front of the camera, in front of all of us. So humility, calmness, balance, creativity, These are the things that lead to true success. And true success comes from that peace within, that joy within, that happiness within. Because ultimately, how big a car do you need? How much land do you need? How much property do you need? How much money do you need? Ultimately, you don't really need much money. And I must tell you the ancient story today, because many teachers are watching. Many, perhaps they can tell their students one day. There was a story in Hindi, it is known as Do Gaz Zameen. I think this was in Russia that it took place. Basically, all you need is a little bit of sand or mud to bury you once your life is over. In Russia, they have this story that a man was told that you can run from this point to whatever point possible. All the land that you cover from morning till evening will be yours. You will be the owner of that land. He was granted a wish. He started running and he ran madly. He was greedy for more land, more land, and more land. He covered all the land possible and he ran as fast as he could. And he didn't even have time to drink water or rest. By evening, he was so finished that he collapsed. And ultimately, all he needed was that do gaz zameen. And that is what ultimately matters. So what we really need to think is all the prosperity and property and money and acquisitions and material success. Of course, we have to be successful in life. We have to study hard, achieve results, get a great job or career. But being greedy or lusting after more property, more money, and focusing on these things rather than focusing on inner peace and calmness, the family, and true happiness and creativity, that is where we get it wrong. So we'll talk more this way. Atul Khosla has had a very wonderful career. He has lots of examples and anecdotes. So I would like to invite Atul to come in and share some stories, some ideas on success, and also maybe show a video from Shulu. Atul.
Thank you, Vivek. Whenever I speak to teachers, I get extremely excited because we are people who make ordinary people successful, ordinary people extraordinary. And that is what a teacher does. And I've always said, Vivek, that there is no more happiness than making others successful. So that's something which I've always believed in. I think in this spirit, we started Shulini. And I'm going to show a small video of Shulini to tease all of you. You know, we live in the mountains. We've got a beautiful forest around us. And of course, we've got some great students who are doing absolutely stunning work. So if you allow me, can I put this small video in place?
Please.
Here you go. So Vivek, that's Shulini, and the reason I showed this video, of course, is also because lots and lots of students from Shulini have achieved amazing successes, not just in India, but across the world. We've got students studying in different parts of the world, including top universities like Stanford and others. We are India's #1 patent filer, way ahead than the #2, which is IIT Chennai, despite being a relatively small university up in the Himalayas and not government sponsored. And I think all of this happens when inspiration happens. So I would lead the second thought over here, which is inspiration. I think as teachers, we should leave inspiration behind to our students. And once that happens, students will do amazing things. And when they do that, of course, we all will be successful. And we will be successful not just from outside, but also inside. I can associate with Neeraj over here, because even Neeraj would have the same passion, I think. And this question is coming to you, Vivek. Why you left the IAS? But a lot of my friends don't believe, Vivek, when I tell them that I left my very big, cushy corporate job to be part of a university. And I tell them I do it not for profit. They sort of look at me and say, you must be smoking dope, you must be lying. But I really, really do it not for profit. I get extreme happiness from making students successful. And that's my passion. And I think once that happens, once you can see other people happy, then no other job can replace that. So that's my thought for the teachers for now. I'll talk about happiness, and I'll talk about some research by Howard a little later. But Vivek, over to you before that.
Thank you very much, Atul. It was lovely to see the video, very inspiring as usual, watching it, and great thoughts. I think we are talking about success. So let's focus on the teachers for a little bit, as you are teachers. What is success for a teacher? A teacher who teaches for, let's say, 30 years, maybe 10 years now, it has been for you, or maybe 5 years, maybe 15. What is it that you have found which gives you that true happiness? I think in your work, you would have found some students who are so outstanding that you take pride in having been their teacher. Some students who are so loving, so respectful, so much in touch, and so well behaved that they give you that sense of pride and happiness. And perhaps once in a while you get an accolade or an appreciation letter or a certificate or some commendation of increase in salary. That also obviously gives you happiness. So as a teacher, but I would say that the more you churn out students who are complete human beings, all-round human beings, and those human beings go on to become great citizens of a great country, India, that is the true happiness and success that a teacher, as a teacher, can look forward to. And to be respected, to have goodwill, is something that really, really gives you that kind of happiness which nothing can match. So I often talk about a teacher who retired at the age of 60. And after 10 years, when he was about 70, he was standing at a railway station, and he was waiting for the train or whatever it was. There was this young man and his wife and children who come to him, and the man touches his feet and says, "Sir, you were my teacher in school, and now I am placed in so and so place. I'm a CEO, and this is my wife. These are my children. I always used to tell my wife and children how good a teacher you were, and how much I used to admire you, and how wonderfully you carried yourself, and what an inspiring personality, and how well you used to teach." And I even remember a few incidents. This kind of goodwill that this teacher had with that student coming out of the way to meet him at the railway station, this is what matters. This is what really is the earning of his life. Because there may be other teachers who find that some student, former student, is there, but he's not talking to him, or he's not even looking at him, or he's ignoring him. If there could be a personality lack in that person, but it could be that the teacher was not really warm enough. So it is very important for teachers perhaps to earn that goodwill. And of course, being strict is not against that. One can be strict, one can be firm. But one thing that I also would like to add is, and not only for teachers, for everybody, you are after all human beings, is anger management is very important. Anger management will give you an edge over others. And Paramahansa Yogananda, the author of the autobiography of a yogi, he said, be calmly active and actively calm. And that calmness gives you success. This is the book, Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And he has written this great classic in the 1940s. It has been translated into more than 50 languages and is available in 95% of the world today. A copy of this can be obtained. Great book. And those of you who have seen it or read it, great. If you haven't, just look at it. You'll find a lot there. So be calmly active and actively calm. Anger is your enemy. Calmness is your friend. A truly successful person will always find those calm moments. I always take the example of Barack Obama. How calm, how cheerful. Even in power, out of power. People become bitter out of power. People become arrogant in power. And yet, this man, always smiling, always cheerful, always friendly. So this is how we need to win the battle of life. The other day, I was talking about a Golgappa man. The poorest of the poor has the broadest of smiles. Happy person, I see him every day on by the roadside. Poor man, smiling, happy, content. Anger and irritation and moodiness result from, unfortunately, from weakness within. And anger is something which actually shows that you're trying to cover your weaknesses. Making others' mood also upsetting their mood, upsetting your own mood, saying something you didn't mean to say. Emotional intelligence is required to prevent you from saying something like that. You will regret it later. Why not control it then and there and not say it? Losing your temper once a month, once in 20 days seems okay. Seems like you're a normal kind of person, you're human. But losing your temper 6 times a day or even 6 times a week is a little too much in my view. Of course, a teacher has to be strict in school, a mother has to be strict at home to some extent, and a boss has to be strict with his colleagues to some extent. But losing your cool is not one of them. I was deputy commissioner, and I remember before I resigned, and that question also I will answer about the IAS. I remember having meetings after meetings with people and with my colleagues. And even if I found that this person is not up to the mark or not really behaving properly, not what I wanted, I was firm. And I tried to maintain the control that I had on my own emotions. So I would say something, this is not right. You better make amends. You better make it okay. I want this by 4 o'clock. This has to be done. This is firmness. But if I start throwing things or shouting or abusing or being irritated or raising my voice, it doesn't add to any respect for me. Authority is not as important as respect, after all. Authority is not as important as respect. Respect is very, very important. So there we realize that our emotional control over ourselves, higher emotional quotient, will give us true success. We will realize the meaning of life is not to be getting these little short-term successes. It is actually that peace within and happiness within. And meditation is a great quality or a great activity that will give you that peace within and true success. Meditation helps to calm the mind. Calmness results from a determined effort. Because the world is in a tizzy. The smartphone is our enemy. The people are all the time they're badgering us. Ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya, this, that, news is coming. Social media is after us. So then where do we find calmness? Calmness has to be found through deliberate efforts. A morning walk should be basically about being by yourself or at the most with your spouse or partner or children and walking. It should not be about politics or crime or news or gossip. I don't think so, my personal opinion. If we are watching the news before sleeping and listening to Mr. Arnab Goswami before sleeping, we will dream about Arnab Goswami. Why not watch someone more saintly and listen to him or her before sleeping? And that will give you more happiness and a deeper and better sleep. Listen to some music, some bhajans, and go to sleep there. So this is meditation. Will also really help morning and evening. It will calm you down. It will absolutely give you a calm, balanced mind. And that balanced mind will then be able to tackle the problems of life much better. And that balance in your personality as a teacher will inspire the students to follow suit and to emulate. Let's take the example of Usain Bolt. Now, Bolt was a 3-time Olympic champion, 9 gold medals, in fact, 3 plus 3 plus 3 in all the competitions that he took part in, these 3 successive, never lost. Now, if Bolt would be like so humble despite all these achievements, Michael Phelps, more than 20 gold medals in the Olympics in swimming. Look at Sachin Tendulkar, the greatest batsman of India ever, and one of the greatest in the world, perhaps the highest. He's the highest run getter, highest century maker. Ever saw him lose his cool? Never saw him becoming arrogant. He had every reason to become arrogant. Virat Kohli is learning, improving in batting, improving as a captain, maturing. But initially, he did not appear as calm and balanced as Tendulkar used to be, or Dhoni used to be. And Dhoni still is. There are ways to lead your life. We need to look at who is an inspiring example. If we have the company of people who are uninspiring, it's okay. But if they're negative and cynical and complaining and critical in their opinion of others all the time, then we need to take a reality check and see whether these people are actually needed in our lives. Perhaps you can't avoid them because they're a part of your life. They're in your family, they're in your home, they're in your school, they're in your work, they're in your neighborhood. But people like that need to be dealt with by being an example for them. If we provoke ourselves or let ourselves be provoked into saying things we don't want to say, doing things we don't want to do, or criticizing others just for the sake of it because this person is criticizing another, I am also criticizing another, or just complaining about things generally, then I need to analyze my mind. Introspection gives me that edge. I introspect, I turn the spotlight towards myself and scrutinize my mind, my habits, my aura, my vibration. Am I emitting positive vibrations with a negative, hopefully, virus test, but positive aura, positive vibration, and positive thinking? That is something that I need to do. These are the factors involved in finding success within. I'll show you my book also. And this is my book called Finding Success Within, which was mentioned by Atul. And 52 life skills I've covered in this for young people. You can share it with your students. You can read it yourself or youngsters in the family. And this is available on Amazon. The topic Finding Success Within has been chosen with a view to sharing points regarding what the meaning of true happiness and success is. Because we ignore it. We run around. I'm luckily, after resigning from the IAS, I'm a motivational speaker and writer. Very lucky for me that I took this choice. In fact, Atul was asking. The reason was that I became creative. I became more of a thinker. And I realized that I've done 26 years of service. Now it's time to do more and time to move out and motivate others, inspire others. So I took a decision and I'm involved with Shulini University. I'm loving what I do. Absolutely very happy. So happiness is success, and over to Atul for his inputs, and hopefully we'll have an interaction at the end. Atul.
Absolutely, Vivek. Happiness is success. And I would like to bring in a research over here done by, Harvard University. They tracked 3 generations of people starting from the 1920s till 2020, 100 years of research. And they tracked guys who went to Harvard and also from the streets of Boston. Boston is where Harvard is. And they tried to understand what makes successful people successful. And guess what? The number one thing that makes successful people successful is happiness. So if you're happy, your probability of success goes up by 75%. So happy people are more successful. Successful people need not be happy. So now the question is, how do you become happy? And this research, Vivek, says that if you are with friends, if you have a great family, and if you contribute to the community through social work or other things, you will be happier than people who are loners. So, loners, for example, people who do not mingle, tend to have a less probability of success, but more importantly, they will not even be healthy. Happy people live beyond 80 years of age. Loners will typically die before 70, or if they hit the age of 80, they will not be healthy to the extent that happy people are. So my message is very simple: be happy, and you will find success within, and you will also find success outside. There was a quote by Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, Amazon CEO and founder. He said, there are two sets of people: the one who are who work for others, who work for happiness, and the others who work for money. The irony is that the first ones are the ones who also make the money. So if you're happy and you work for others, you'll also end up becoming very rich, or you can become very rich. So I think that should be the mantra we should do. If you find success within, there's a small or a very, I would say there's actually a large probability that you'll also find success to the conventional outside world. So let's be happy, guys. Let's find success within. And for last thoughts from Vivek, and before that, I also request Neeraj Puri to come online, show his face, and also unmute himself. And would love to answer all the questions that you lovely people have. Last thoughts, Vivek.
Thank you very much, Atul. Indeed, very, very important, that study by Harvard, and they conducted it over 70 years, I was reading, and all the professors who came, they turn by turn, they outlived the professors.
There's a TEDx talk on this, actually.
Yeah, I saw. I didn't see the talk, but I saw that there is a talk, and wonderful to know. This is a secret which is so obvious in front of us, but people just don't realize it, especially in 2020 when there's so much to distract us. So we need to think deeply. I think my last thoughts are that I mentioned meditation and calmness. They are your best friends. Please adopt meditation in your life. Please start meditating if you haven't. Whatever age you are, it doesn't matter. And I follow Kriya Yoga, founded by Paramahansa Yogananda, his path. Atul also follows it. And we have really benefited from meditation. It helps us to be calmer and helps us to glow, helps us to work better and remain unfuzzled by anything that happens around us. So all the best to you, and please ask questions.
Absolutely. I think Kamal, Shikha, if you're there, Neeraj sir is asking if we can help him open his camera. But hello, Neeraj. I think we can definitely listen to you, but we can't see you as of now. I'm sure we'll sort this technology issue out. Before we actually, here you are. Welcome back. So, before we get into the Q&A, and there are a couple of questions out here. So again, teachers do ask questions. But I have one question for you, Vivek, which you alluded to. Tell us, how happy are you? And do you ever regret leaving the IAS?
No, I don't regret leaving the IAS. The reason for that is that I planned it pretty well, I think, and I thought for 3 years or something before leaving. I never really was one to worry about salutes and the car and things. My father was an IPS officer, as you know, and I saw it from childhood, and I saw 26 years of my own service. I feel much more energetic, much more relaxed. I was giving an example of my mind having become more creative and fresh. I can recall 10-digit mobile numbers now, Atul, without any difficulty.
Really?
And the earlier, when I was in the IAS, I was so maybe preoccupied. Whenever I tried just to test myself, can I remember this number? I would never get beyond the 5 digits, and I would always have to look back for the second half of the number. But now I can easily memorize them if I take a minute. So I think my mind is less burdened. I do more creative work, and I took the right decision.
So again, that study which Sir was sharing, that happiness leads to success.
Absolutely, that's the one.
So Neeraj, you tell us,
your power to recall has multiplied many a times, because mind is at peace. It's not a junkyard now.
Yeah.
Neeraj, you're an MBA. You could have gone and done a corporate job. You're a teacher now. Tell us what motivates you.
Sir, it's the passion of trying every time trying something new, which actually drives me. And the ikigai, there is a Japanese term, ikigai,
Yes.
and a
Yes.
Kaizen principle, which I avidly believe in. So we all need to first of all find our ikigai, the purpose which drives you, the purpose for your being on this planet, that why you have signed in. So
Absolutely.
that is actually why I'm here. I love teaching. I love being with the kids and trying to make a difference in someone's life, because if even one child's life I'm able to make a difference, I'm done. My purpose of being on this planet is served.
Absolutely. So beautifully said, Neeraj. And there's a question from Harmanjeet Kaur, Vivek. Does happiness depend on things or facts? I don't completely understand the question. I
Things
think
and facts. Things and
things and
facts.
I
facts.
think he may be relating it with material possessions. He like,
Yeah, yeah. No, I get the point. I get the question. Harmanjeet, ma'am, I think, is asking, does happiness depend on things and facts? Well, so I mentioned to you mangoes, and mangoes are things, pani puri, golgappas. So these are all things, and facts could be that, you got 96% marks, or a student got 97% marks. These are facts. Now, if you look at these things and facts, the happiness that comes from them is definitely there, but it is temporary. And that temporary happiness comes from anything from external influences. And therefore, ultimately, if you have the attitude of being cheerful and happy from within, then only you will actually lead a fulfilling and happy life. So your own attitude has to be one of gratitude. And if I add to this by a little story, which I often tell in this webinars, Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe was a Wimbledon champion, a black American who won Wimbledon, tennis's biggest tournament. And when he won Wimbledon, he was on top of the world. When he was ill and dying, about 15 years later, unfortunately, he had a critical ailment. He got letters from all over the world. Arthur, why is this happening to you? Now, Arthur Ashe wrote back to them. He says, when I won Wimbledon, I didn't ask God, why is this happening to me? Why have I won Wimbledon? Of course, he worked hard and all, but there are so many players to win Wimbledon. He said, I never asked God, why is this happening to me? Now, what right do I have when I'm ill and dying to ask God, why is this happening to me? So this is something that we need to turn away from. Arthur Ashe's example may be an extreme one, but very inspiring. Why do we always have, why me, why me, why is this happening to me? Why not to the neighbor? Why not to the landlord? Why not to so-and-so? So if we turn that and into gratitude for whatever we have, then the world, actually the universe conspires to help us. And compassion for others also helps us. Like Neeraj said and Atul also said, if you make an outstanding student out of, let's say, a normal average child, then that is an achievement, or a great human being out of anyone. That is an achievement. So that's what inspires.
moreover, sir, I would love to add into it that material possessions are always for some time. That's not, ecstasy till eternity.
Yeah.
That is gonna be there to some extent for a time. And even I endorse your point that what's the point of accumulating all the material possessions and the material belongings if there is no one to share it with you?
Exactly.
So
They
I
are
think
not
there
the
are lots of students,
lifetime,
absolutely,
it's not a
Neeraj.
joy for life.
So I think there's some students here and some teachers here. I'd like to leave the concept of purpose because you brought it up. So again, research in the US, and I talk about research in the US because we sometimes believe the Westerners more than all the spiritual stuff that is written in our Vedas and our ancient work. So research at Harvard indicates that people with a purpose or organizations with a purpose are way more successful than people without a purpose. So my request, if there are some students here, teachers here, let's say you want to get into the IAS. So if your purpose is that I want to be number one in IAS and I want to get into the IAS because it's a great job and it'll be very cushy, your chances of success will not be as high as someone who says, I want to get into the IAS because I want to make a difference to the country. So that purpose becomes very, very important. You're preparing for IIT, you say, I want to get into the IAS because I believe I can contribute way more to humanity if I get into IIT. And then you'll see your objectivity, your work, your passion will be way, way more than what it is if you just want to see it as sort of a trophy for your parents or your brothers or sisters or others. And of course, passion is so important. इतनी शिद्दत से तुम्हें पाने की कोशिश की है कि हर जर्रे ने हमें मिलाने की साजिश की है. Work hard and you'll be successful. And I think Arshia is asking, why is money the most common way of judging success? Vivek, I think that's an interesting one.
That's a very interesting one, and that is the parameter by which people judge success. But then, let us first talk about this, what people think. Someone asked me in the previous webinar that I worry too much about what people think. People think that money is the parameter of success. Who are people? Who are they to decide? So ultimately, society decides these things, but society doesn't really care. We have to fight our own battle and find our own goals and success. And really, we're answerable to ourselves. If money gives us true happiness, then best of luck to that person. But because society thinks that money is success, we cannot follow that paradigm.
Yep.
So it has to be our own judgment. And that judgment has to be made carefully, seeing the bigger picture. And money is required to a certain extent to be comfortable. Prosperity is required and comforts are required. But beyond a certain point, if we lust after money, then that same thing about the man and the two dogas zameen.
Even I would contribute here something, sir. Even if we talk about, as I perfectly agree with your point of view, when it comes to a money, that may be for initial, if you are at your initial age and stage of life. If I talk about Mukesh Ambani, if I talk about Elon Musk or about all the tycoons, it's for them, it's not about money. For them, it's about being at position 1. So money also, to some extent, may be a parameter of success, but not everywhere.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I think we have some more questions here. So
I think that's, really the question is Vivek. I would like to add to Arshia over here that, which I was referring to, that once you have a purpose of what you want to do, then it's very interesting that money and power typically follows you also. And I can only give a little bit of my example, Vivek. I was in the pursuit of money for a very long time. You join a corporate job, you've done your MBA, and you're sort of running after money. And yes, you get success. But the day I said that, money doesn't matter to that extent, I'm going to work for satisfaction. I'm going to work for giving back to the community. And surprise, surprise, I was never more successful financially than I was earlier. So because I was able to deliver better, I was able to perform better. And once you're performing better, then money also sort of follows. And that's true for universities, that's true for schools, that's true for individuals, that's true for anyone. So the purpose of life and making sure that you deliver satisfaction within is so much important. I'm sure that's what you're referring to. You spoke about meditation. So before we end the day, I'm going to request you to take all the beautiful people on the session today through a 1-minute meditation. Take us through a journey also, Vivek. I know you're also my guru on this. I call you one because you made me follow the right path. But take us through, what you've done, how you've done it, and 1 minute of experience of meditation.
Thank you, Atul. That's so sweet of you. And it's all, we are all works in progress and working towards our own inner journeys. So I think we can do a short meditation, 1 minute, which is basically a preliminary technique that I follow. And we all follow in Kriya Yoga path. The Kriya Yoga is very high in its techniques, but this one is a very preliminary one you can do any time of the day. So just please all just sit straight and with your spine straight and your focus between the eyebrows. Even if you close your eyes in a little while, just keep focusing between the eyebrows. And at the same time, notice the flow of your breath. Let the breath flow naturally in and out. Don't control it. But notice that now it is coming in, now it's going out. For 1 minute, we'll do only these two things. Focus here and focus on the breath with your eyes closed. Starting now. Thank you. Perhaps that was a little more than 1 minute, but one gets so calmed down due to this meditation that it helps.
It was amazing, and it was amazing to see the calmness on your and Neeraj's face. Neeraj, do you also, are you into meditation? I think you are. Looks like the way you did it.
I get very little time for it, though I always yell for it.
That's all good. But try to take out time. I was BC Panchkula, and I used to meditate for 1 hour in the morning. So that's inspiration.
It's very, very important. I understand.
So, I tell you, the breath calms down, and the mind also, after a while, it calms down a little bit more. Although the mind is more difficult to control, the breath will quieten down, and your heart will start pumping so much blood, and your body, mind, and soul will actually relax and calm down without going to sleep. So that is very important.
Well, I think we have come to an end to this wonderful, wonderful discussion. I hope all of you loved what we said. For all the young teachers, make your students successful, make the ordinary ones more successful. And I think that's going to be amazingly satisfying. And that's how you'll find the success within. For the students here, yes, work hard, but don't worry too much about what the world will say. Follow your passion, students. You do that, follow the purpose which you think you're born for, and you will achieve amazing success. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Neeraj. Before I go, my last question always is last thoughts, but one sentence. Vivek.
Stay happy and calm, and stay connected and positive.
Neeraj.
Unwavering steadfastness for purpose should be on the bedrocks of your character.
Fantastic. My thoughts, of course, that's wonderful. No wonder you're so inspirational, Neeraj. And my thoughts would be Hakuna Matata, don't worry, be happy. Corona will go away now or another 3 months down the line. So make every moment count. Make sure that you're happy and make sure you learn from Corona. Thank you very much. One last thought, Vivek. Someone asked me, students are not learning enough nowadays. And my answer was, what could be a better learning than nowadays for young students and teachers?
Being locked in their confined to four walls.
Being locked and being through such difficult times.
Yeah, they learned so many M's.
Absolutely.
Resilience.
So
yes.
So this is great learning. All learning is not there in a textbook. So let's learn from the environment, from the experience that we have. With that, once again, thank you, Neeraj. Thank you, Vivek. Sir. And look forward to being in touch.
Thank you.
The pleasure was all ours. Thank you very much for both of you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Take care.